Right, everyone, we're officially live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Trails on the Spectrum, and welcome back to another episode of the Off Road Campground Podcast. This is a show that helps you survive the trails and make the best out of your trail rides. So, in this episode, we're going to go over picking the perfect soundtrack for your trail rides. So, when you pick music for a trail ride, we either pick from one of these three genres. We pick from either hip hop, country, or hip hop. And sometimes it's always good to play almost anything really on a trail ride. It could be Disney music, it could be pop music, it can be rock music, and that's another thing, rock. I guess that's a fourth, is rock music. And we're listening to a lot of music that goes with off-roading. And also in this episode, we're going to go over the best ways to connect your phone to your side-by-side's audio system. And it's not Bluetooth, because Bluetooth will drain your battery after a long, long trail ride. And we'll talk about Bluetooth and ways you can keep your phone from going dead when streaming through Bluetooth, because it will drain your battery. So I'm going to show you some music that I prefer. We're going to use my phone's screen. We're going to open up QuickTime Player, and we'll set up another screen recording. We'll do a window capture. So come here to QuickTime Player, movie recording, and I'll select the screen. Wow. So it's using the phone's. Oh well. I don't know what's going on. Let's bring you guys back here. I don't know what's going on. But I guess we'll just use my Mac, and show off some music from Apple Music, because everything is stored in the cloud. So I'm going to come here to the screen recording, and then come over here to Apple Music, because all my music's stored in the cloud. So as you can see, I got my entire CD collection, because I am a 32-year-old guy who still loves his CDs. So come to different genres. So all this is stored in my phone. I can go to my country music. I got a whole bunch. As you can see, I got Alan Jackson. I've got Alabama. I've got Anne Murray, Billy Ray Cyrus, Blake Shelton, Brad Paisley, Carrie Underwood, Charlie Daniels Band, The Chicks, Walmart, Chris Cagle. I got Confederate Railroad, Conway Twitty. I've got Oak Ridge Boys, Dolly Parton, Andy Rabbit, Garth Brooks, George Strait, Glenn Campbell, Hank Williams Jr., Jason Aldean, Jimmy Buffett, which he's not really country, but he's more beachy, which is really good for those summer vibes on the trails. Can't go wrong with Jimmy Buffett when you're riding the trails, especially in the summertime. But we're going to come back here and show you guys the rest of the music. And then come over here to Apple Music. As you can see, yeah, we got Jimmy Buffett, Joe Diffie. Can't wrong with Joe Diffie. I got Joe Nichols, John Anderson, John Denver. This album will be perfect for the Half-Moon McCoy Trails in West Virginia, especially this song, Take Me Home Country Roads. That is the theme song to the Half-Moon McCoy Trails. Take Me Home Country Roads, Almost Heaven, West Virginia. And I mean, that's a theme song that you have to play when you're riding on the trails in the Half-Moon McCoy Trails up in West Virginia. Got some more John Denver. I love John Denver. John Michael Montgomery, Johnny Cash, Josh Turner, Justin Moore, Keith Whitley, Kenny Chesney, Kenny Rogers, Lady Wilson. I got Lee Brice, Lee Greenwood, Lone Star, Luke Bryan. Can't go wrong with that, especially on the southern trails when you're mud bogging. Luke Bryan, more Luke Bryan, Luke Combs. Ian McCoy. Billy's got his beer goggles on. Randy Travis. Ricky Skaggs, good for riding on the trails in Kentucky because he's from Kentucky. Can't go wrong with Ricky Skaggs. Sawyer Brown. I got Shania Twain. Can't go wrong with Shania Twain. Sugarland, Taylor Swift, When She Was Country. Thomas Mack, Country Time, love that. Down on the Farm, Tim McGraw. Yep, got some Tim McGraw, Toby Keith, Trace Atkins, Travis Tritt. Some Trisha Yearwood, of course, a compilation album, the mid-'80s contemporary country, Dwight Yoakam, Stephen Earle, Willie Nelson, Kenny Rogers, Merle Haggard, Hank Williams Jr., Roseanne Cash, Dolly Parton. Oh, with Kenny Rogers, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Randy Travis, Ricky Skaggs, The Judds, George Strait, Ronnie Millsap, Alabama. Oh, Roll On 18-Wheeler. And Lee Greenwood, Dixie Road, of course. Ain't No Love in Oklahoma from Luke Combs. Some Willie Nelson, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Rascal Flatts. A bunch of newer country. I mean, that's a lot of music. Southern Nights. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of country music in these Now albums. And then we got country and folk. Like When All Goes Alabama, Billy Gilman, Darius Rucker, some more John Denver, Oak Ridge Boys. It's the same album, but I guess different versions. Rascal Flatts. Contemporary country is Chris Cagle. Let's come all the way down to the R's. This is the rock music. I would prefer, like, there's Black Keys, Pearl Jam, some 90s alternative, Avril Lavigne, Elton John. I mean, there's like a whole bunch of rock music. We're not going to go through all of it because I got so much. So, picking the right music for the right trail ride, I guess it depends on your personal taste. See, even with Apple Music, you can choose from all kinds of music. Like, I even built a hip hop playlist in my Apple Music account. So that way, not only can I listen to my CD collection, but I can also listen to my hip hop, which I got artists like the Georgia Boys, the Lax. I've got. Let me check my hip hop playlist on Apple Music. Yeah, playlists. And then come all the way down to hip hop. Yeah, I got artists like the Georgia Boys. I got the Lax, Moccasin Creek, Tennessee Shine, Bottleneck, Lenny Cooper, Colt Ford, Yellow Wolf, Bubba Sparks, Moonshine Bandits, Gunner, with mud grips on everything on Keep It Country. I mean, there's some pretty good artists in here for hip hop. Those are just some of the mainstream, I guess, hip hop artists that you can listen to when you're trail riding. Me and my dad, we love listening to hip hop when we're trail riding. So at least we have that music with us. I have these same artists. Yeah, I have these same playlists on Spotify. So right now we're gonna come to Spotify web player, because we gotta add these songs into the 80s playlist, or I gotta add this playlist into my 80s playlist on Spotify. We'll search 80s. I don't think that's gonna work. Weird. Oh well, I'll just take care of it later. But I can actually do it on Apple Music, which is great. Yeah, I can work on it with Apple Music. Come here to Apple Music. Actually, all playlists. And then come to the 80s hits playlist that I've built. And then Command A. And come over here to 80s hits. Drag and drop. Skip. Which means it'll skip the songs that are already in that playlist to prevent any duplicates from appearing, which is great. Especially with so yeah, picking the right music is finding the right vibe, the right energy for the trail ride, depending on where you are. So for different trails, there are different music. There's you can listen to country, rock, hip hop. So just regular hip hop, country, rock, and of course hip hop. Just to name a few for trail riding, but you can listen to pretty much anything you want. I mean, I could listen to anything that's high energy and get me through the trails. It could be a lot of um, party music, from pop, dance music. But I think trail riding has a certain energy, a certain vibe, and a certain feel to it. If you were at a party or something, then yeah, trail riding, most people listen to country, hip hop, rock, hip hop. There's a lot of music that goes on when trail riding. So yeah, finding the right music, especially now, is finding the right streaming service that has the music that you want to listen to. Even though all streaming services have the same music, and when you find the right music, you can put it into a playlist, and batch it up to download offline, just in case you don't have cell service. You can pretty much download your music offline in a batch for a playlist. Like I can put I can try to put music that I ripped from CD into a playlist and download that offline. And I can have all of my music downloaded right there offline. Even though my Ride Command system does not support playlists, I can easily pick a playlist from my phone and then just leave it and play it all through USB. And it's very easy to navigate, especially especially if you have an iPhone. You can use your iPhone like an iPod through the USB/iPod feature. Like if you have old CDs that you've held on to for decades, you can pretty much take a CD, pop it into your computer, rip it to Apple Music, and all your music is stored in the cloud. It's with you wherever you go. It'll work in any side by side. But there's also been recently a side by side that has Apple CarPlay, so you can pretty much stream anything you want. And of course, I think it has Android Auto. I'm not sure if it has Android Auto or not, but it does have Apple CarPlay. You can play music from Spotify, from Apple Music, and control everything from the voice, from the screen. Because it almost looks like the Z4 C10 has one of those modern screens like in my dad's truck, but it has Apple CarPlay. I think CF Moto is probably the only one that I've seen that has Apple CarPlay. Maybe I can look it up. Side by sides that have Apple CarPlay. Okay, so getting Apple CarPlay in your side by side is great for trail navigation and music. You have three main options by UTV with factory CarPlay. talking about side by sides that have we'll go to the AI mode so we can see which ones have factory CarPlay. Oh, CF Moto is the leading brand offering factory install Apple CarPlay natively built into their side by side dashboard, while legacy brands like Polaris and Can-Am use proprietary software like Ride Command for their off-road vehicles. CF Moto builds its newer models with dedicated touchscreens that support CarPlay out of the box. Below are the key side-by-side models that come factory installed with CarPlay, grouped by category. The Z-Force Z10, the CF Moto U-Force U10 Pro, that's the utility and family models. So mostly it's CF Moto. Understanding the other major brands. If you're shopping across the major brands, it's important to know how they handle smartphone integration. Polaris vehicles use a system called Ride Command, while other Polaris does offer factory Apple CarPlay on their on-road Slingshot vehicles. They do not offer factory CarPlay on off-road side-by-sides like the Razor, Ranger, or Expedition. Riders must use aftermarket stereo hand units to get CarPlay in those machines. Can-Am, similar to Polaris, Can-Am features beautiful 10.25-inch touchscreens on their on-road models like the Spider with CarPlay, but their off-road side-by-sides like the Maverick and Defender rely on their proprietary BRP Go software rather than their native CarPlay. Here we go. Kawasaki, like the Kawasaki models like the Kawasaki Ridge allows you to hook up your phone via Bluetooth or specialized data cable to a multifunction display, but it does not support native CarPlay. Yeah, it doesn't support a native Apple CarPlay interface. So I guess let's go to response B. Yep, yes, several model side by sides. Several side by side vehicles now come with factory Apple CarPlay built right into their touchscreen displays, while major North American brands like Polaris, Can-Am, and Kawasaki use their own custom systems like Ride Command that do not have native CarPlay on their off-road UTVs. Other manufacturers have made factory CarPlay a standard premium feature. Yeah, CF Moto is currently the leading industry. Yeah, CF Moto is currently leading in the industry by putting factory CarPlay on their high-end, large-screen Ride Sync multimedia systems. And the sport brand is the CF Moto Z-Force Z10, which has Apple CarPlay built in. It's a high-performance sport machine packing a 143 horsepower turbo engine. The cockpit features a massive 12.3-inch Ride Sync MMI touchscreen that fully supports factory Apple CarPlay. But with me having a Polaris Razor, it features Apple CarPlay on its on-road three-wheel Slingshot models. The Razor, it uses Ride Command and handles navigation and music, but does not run Apple CarPlay. how to get it. Owners who want Apple CarPlay and a Polaris Can-Am or Kawasaki typically install an aftermarket touchscreen and connect to the Rockford Fosgate audio system or any audio system for that matter. So pretty much in order to get Apple CarPlay in something like the Kawasaki, the Can-Am, or the Polaris, you have to install an aftermarket, which may not be hard to install. Like putting the screen right there where the radio is and have easy access to Apple CarPlay and connect it to the Bluetooth, because the factory Fosgate audio system does have Bluetooth, and you can connect it. Connect the Apple CarPlay to Bluetooth and hear everything through the Rockford Fosgate. And of course, you get hands-free phone calling. That's another thing, is that you get hands-free phone calling, and you'll hear everything through the radio, which I think is really cool. But being from the 2000s, being a kid of the 2000s, I actually don't really mind if I use the USB/iPod function that's built right into the main screen. It'll keep me from having a secondary screen in the Polaris, and it doesn't distract me from riding the trails when I am using the ride command. But if you look at your particular side by side, you'll see a best way to connect your phone or whatever device you're bringing with you with your music to have the perfect soundtrack for your trail rides. And then I guess some other side by sides that don't have a factory radio at all, you would install a Bluetooth speaker to listen to your music. Like, you would hang it from the bar and then turn it on, and you got your music for your trail ride, and you can stream wirelessly to Bluetooth. And yeah, you'll have Bluetooth from your smartphone, stream it wirelessly, put your phone in your pocket, and your music is playing for the entire trail ride. I mean, for the Half of McCoy trails, it's always good to bring a charger or something. I don't know if it has a charger or not in the basic side by side. My thing with the Sport RZR, which has a basic screen and analog dial or analog gauges, that's where you can actually install speakers to go in the RZR. But I didn't get that. I got the Ultimate model, which has the ride command, the Fox shocks, everything. So I have a USB cable coming out of the radio. So I pretty much have a USB port extended out from the ride command into the dash compartment. And I can easily plug my phone into regular USB and control everything from the screen. I don't even have to touch my phone. I don't have to pull out my phone for an entire trail ride. It's that good. Because I won't be able to reach having a 4-point harness strapped to me. I can't even reach. So before I go out on the trail, I always make sure my phone's plugged into the USB port. At least with trail riding, it doesn't get as hot because we're going at higher speeds. But riding in the yard, that's when it's going to get the most hot, because we're running at slower speeds at high gear. So there's a way to, let's kind of look it up. We'll come to, I guess we'll come to, oh yeah, I use Gemini now. What is the best way to stay cool riding in my Polaris RZR XP41000 Ultimate around my yard at 15 miles per hour or less? I'm going to change that RZR. Yeah, to stay cool in your Polaris RZR XP41000 while driving at low speeds, the best approach is to combine the cabin airflow improvements with personal cooling strategies. At 15 miles per hour or less, you aren't getting enough natural wind to, despite the heat that builds up in the engine bay and cabin, improve cabin airflow. At low speeds, heat rays from the engine and drivetrain into the cockpit. Ooh, a roof mounted fan. These are highly effective for low speed driving. A UTV specific 12-volt roof fan can provide constant airflow directly onto you and your passengers, regardless of vehicle speed. Windshield configuration. If you have a full windshield, it can trap heat and create a greenhouse effect. Consider a half windshield or a vented full windshield. Yeah, which I have. I actually do have a full vented to allow some airflow through the cabin while still providing protection from dust and debris. Yeah, ventilation kits inside install side vent kits on or fresh air intakes that pull air into the cabin that help circulate some stagnant air out of hot air out of the cockpit. And we'll talk about that in a next episode. How about putting it in low gear for the entire ride? Let me see if that's possible. Yeah, for your specific usage, cruising your yard at 15 miles per hour or less using low gear is actually the recommended approach by Polaris. While low gear is better for your situation at speeds consistently under 15 to 20 miles an hour, low gear is your best friend. Belt protection, the biggest enemy of your RZR's continuously variable all CVT is belt slippage. Yeah, does it help with heat? While low gear will not lower your engine's coolant temperature, in fact, your engine might run at slightly higher RPMs, which can increase overall heat generation. It will prevent the CVT belt and clutch assembly from overheating. So I guess when riding around the yard, we'll just put in low gear. I guess high gear for when riding the trails or on the road or whenever we are going at higher speeds. For yard cruises, yeah, using low gear is the standard manufacturer approved way to avoid costly premature transmission and maintenance. Wow. And maybe my phone won't get as hot when I listen to music. I guess that's how it connects. Because once the engine heats up, my phone will heat up and it say that charging will return to normal once the phone cools down. And basically, what's happening is that heat from the engine traps into the cabin, turning it into a sauna, and pretty much heating up my phone while it's charging and plugged into the USB port. Because it's all closed into a compartment. I guess that's how it connects with listening to music. It'll still keep going, but it won't charge the phone. Yeah, it won't charge the phone because of it's being too hot. So I guess I'll remember that for next time. Drive it in low gear, just around the yard, a 3 acre yard, because I've been putting it into into the high gear, but low gear will definitely be the best option. It'll help keep the cabin cool because it's running at higher RPMs at a slower speed, which is great for just cruising around the yard at 15 miles per hour or less. I'm not trying to mess up the yard because the tire stick, they really go and dig deep into the grass. Like say this is the grass and this is the tire, it digs really really deep in there, causing it to tear up. And putting it at the higher RPMs, I guess that's why I keep going fast and hitting that higher RPM down my driveway, so that we can try to keep it cool when driving around the yard and the slower speeds. So I'll try that next time, put in the low gear instead of high gear, because high gears if we're going at higher speeds. Because trail riding, it won't get as hot, which is good. So yeah, riding around the yard while listening to music, it'll charge my phone because it'll stay cool because the heat from the engine won't get trapped into the cabin, which does lead into the compartment. See, the compartment, yeah, the compartment to put your phone will protect your phone from dust, dirt, mud, anything that's on the trail, even water. It'll protect it from getting wet if you cross a creek, like at Carolina Adventure World, because you're crossing a creek to get to the trail. And if it's muddy out, yeah, it'll protect your phone from getting red clay, which can stick like glue, and it won't last forever. And riding in, yeah, running at Riverneck, there's a lot of mud holes, and it'll help keep your phone protected. Because usually these mud holes don't go above the floor, depending on how deep the mud hole is. And we always be careful with that. We try to stay out of the deep mud holes. So there's a lot at these trails that the compartment, because it's never gotten wet or anything before, and it's protected my phone a lot over time, especially when listening to music. It's kept it protected for a long. It kept it, you know, protected for the entire trail ride at both Riverneck and Carolina Adventure World. And it also keeps you safe when plugged into USB because everything's controlled right there on the screen. Through the menu, you got your artists, your albums, your songs. Not playlists, you get genres, artists, albums, songs loaded right there on the screen, just like an old school iPod. And it's controlled like a modern day iPod, especially if you have an iPhone. Yeah, especially if you have a iPhone, which acts as a modern day iPod using the Apple Music app. Because the Apple Music app is the default music app. And it gets stored locally. Well, not stored locally, but stored in the cloud. And it reads it like like a newer iPod. That's why iPhones are really good for trail riding or for people who go on the trails, because you can play your music through USB, keep your phone charged, and still control everything on the screen. I don't think you can do that with an Android phone. I wonder, for riders who have an Android phone, can they still use the USB port to listen to music like iPhone users can? Yes, people with Android phones can absolutely listen to music through USB, just like iPhone users. In fact, Android devices support USB audio for many years. We'll actually edit that for writers or for side by side writers who have an Android phone can they listen to can they still use their USB port to listen to music just like iPhone users can? Because with the iPhone, it treats it like an iPod. The answer depends on specific audio. And the answer depends on the specific audio system. It's all in your side by side, but the short answer is it often less. The short answer is it is often less plug and play than with an iPhone. With modern infotainment systems support Android, they don't always treat an Android phone the same way they treat iPhone over USB connection. Oh, here we go. The core difference for iPhones is the iPod mode. Most factory and aftermarket vehicle audio systems are built with specific protocols to recognize iPhones as iPod devices when plugged into the USB port. This allows the head unit to browse your music library, display album art, and control playback directly from the dash. Android MTP or versus mass storage. Android devices typically use a protocol called MTP, Media Transfer Protocol, to connect to computers. Many older or basic side-by-side audio systems do not speak MTP if the system is looking for a USB drive with files, mass storage mode, or an iPod. It may not recognize an Android phone connected via USB, or may only charge the phone without recognizing it as a music source. Yeah, recommended alternatives. If you have an Android phone, for systems that don't support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto over USB, you have, for systems that don't support Android over USB, you have reliable options, reliable alternatives to getting your music playing. So, this is for all you Android users who have a side by side that don't support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Bluetooth is the standard for almost all PowerSport audio. It will provide wireless control of your music, play, pause, and skip, and is generally more reliable for the vibrations and environment of a side by side. A USB drive, instead of plugging in your phone, copy the music files MP3 slash WAV onto a small ruggedized USB thumb drive. Most side by side candidates will read the drive directly by bypassing phone compatibility issues entirely, and the auxiliary input, which it doesn't have aux, so USB drive and Bluetooth. Polaris RZR XP for 1000 Ultimate with factory write command. I'm asking this because my mom has an Android phone, Samsung. Um, Factory ride command. So she listened to her music when riding in the side by side. When riding in the side by side. In the side by side. For your mom's Android phone, the short answer is yes. You can absolutely listen to music through the ride command system, but the best way to do it is via Bluetooth, not the USB cable. So the USB cord will be saved for me when connected to the USB iPod mode. Yeah, for your mom's Android phone, the short answer is yes. She can absolutely listen to music through the ride command system, but the best way to do it is via Bluetooth, not the USB cord. While the ride command documentation often mentions USB slash iPod sources and specific file formatting requirements, it is essentially designed to read mass storage devices like a USB thumb drive rather than function as a direct interface for an Android phone's music library for the same way it does for an iPhone. Here's how to set up her phone. Yeah, here's how to set her up for the best experience. The best method is Bluetooth. So listen to all you Android users. Instead of worrying about cables, simply pair her Samsung phone to the right command system via Bluetooth. This is the most reliable way to stream music from apps like Spotify, Pandora, or Apple Music. How to pair on the ride command display. We already know how to do that. Make sure her phone's Bluetooth is on. Discoverable. Okay, benefits. It works wirelessly. Allows her phone. It works wirelessly. Allows her phone. It works wirelessly. Allows her to keep her phone in her pocket or mount, and provides full control directly from the dashboard screen. Yeah, she mostly uses Spotify, so it doesn't really matter. About option two is if she supports if she prefers the USB. If your mom has a collection of music files when she doesn't, and prefers to use the USB port, she shouldn't try to plug her phone in directly. Instead, use a standard USB flash drive, FAT32 or exFAT, MP3 or WAV format. Spotify. Yeah, does she use a specific music streaming app, or does she prefer? Oh, we'll say she streams from Spotify. Since your mom is a Spotify user, Bluetooth is definitely the way to go. She doesn't have any files since she doesn't use a laptop. Not bad. So yeah, Bluetooth is the best way for her since she uses Spotify and I use Apple Music. I'll come here. I personally use an iPhone 15 Pro Max with Apple Music, and I have my CDs ripped into Apple Music, so I'll use the USB port. That's not the right one. Ripped into Apple Music, so I'll use the USB port when I drive. I'll use the it has worked before using a USB C to regular USB cable. Here we go. It is interesting that you've had success with the setup in the past in specific instances for your write command firmware. Since the ride command uses, oh, treats my phone. It treats my iPhone like an iPod. But yeah, there's different ways to connect your phone via Bluetooth and also USB if you have an iPhone. That makes perfect sense. You've hit it on the gold standard for an older or specialized infotainment system like the ride command. It says by identifying your phone as an iPod, the ride command is using the Apple Music or Apple Accessory Protocol. It's highly stable legacy handshake that car manufacturers perfected years ago. It gives the ride command direct access to the audio stream and metadata, song title, and artist album art from your music library without needing the phone to act as like a complex file transfer device. That's why you always want to at least try iPhone. And it goes through different things. Just have to do your own research. So for iPhone users, basically what it's saying is the best way to stay safe when you're on the trail is by using USB. And I guess for passengers who have an iPhone, you can actually stream it wirelessly to Bluetooth, which I'm going to start doing in November when the law goes into effect to make side by side street legal. I can then plug my phone into the 12-volt and charge my phone up and use Bluetooth. But at least it's already paired up to the ride command. I can easily select whatever I'm doing. And as a driver on the trail or around my yard, I'll just use the standard USB port. I'll use the USB port when I'm driving. But when I'm riding in the passenger seat, like, if we go on the road, we'll use the Bluetooth. It kind of acts as a iPod, pretty much, and Bluetooth I can still use to stream my I can use Bluetooth to stream all of my I can use Bluetooth to stream my albums from CD into the ride command, and then just control it all from the phone since I'll be in the passenger seat. And USB really makes it a lot easier for trail rides and riding around the yard when I'm driving. I can easily go to the menu, go to the artist, albums, songs, genres, and play from that. Just like an old school iPod, which I think is amazing. I'm not sure how Can-Am does it, or I know CF Moto has Apple CarPlay, which makes it a lot nicer. But if you have a Can-Am, I'm not sure how it treats the iPhone. How does the Can-Am infotainment system treat an iPhone for music? So if you have a Can-Am, the Can-Am infotainment system handles iPhone music playback in two distinct ways depending on whether you use the standard Bluetooth connection or Apple CarPlay. And it goes through all the important notes. But yeah, it's hard to tell. You just have to look it up using. You can have to do your own research on what's best for you on how to connect your phone to the audio system and picking the right soundtrack. Which I know a lot of you are probably going to pick country, rock, hip hop or a mixture of country and hip hop called hip hop. Hip hop is definitely one of those genres that really screams trail riding, or just if you just want more traditional genres, and yeah, country, hip hop, and rock, or or whatever you have in your streaming library. And another thing you do is build a specific trail riding playlist and download that for offline. If the connection is spotty or you don't have any connection at all. Because I know there's certain trails that you have to download offline because you might lose cell service. That's mainly up in the mountains. But I think things have gotten better over time. How about let's actually look it up? The list of top trails. The list of top trail systems that allow you to bring your own vehicle, your own side by side, your own side by side that is more likely to lose cell service when riding. That's not it. I'm going to retype it. Riding. And according to Google Gemini, these are the top trail systems that allow to bring your own side by side. They might lose cell service. So this is where, these are the trail systems you need to download your playlist offline. When choosing trail systems for a side by side riding where losing cell service is a distinct possibility, you're generally looking at national forests or Bureau of Land Management lands. These areas are categorized by vast, rugged, and mountains terrain and naturally obstruct cellular signals. Yet the following areas are widely recognized by the off-road community for their remote nature and high likelihood of limited to no cell reception. Top remote trail systems, the Half-McCoy Trails in West Virginia. While some trailheads have infrastructure, the vast majority of these hundreds of miles of trails are deep in the mountains of southern West Virginia. The deep valleys and ridges create natural dead zones. This is where you need to download. So when I go to the Half-McCoy Trails in the future, I'll have to download a playlist offline where you should expect to lose service immediately upon entering the forest. Sawtooth Natural Recreation Area in Idaho, known for its rugged mountains terrain. This area is a prime example of where topography creates severe signal attenuation. It's a vast public land area where cell coverage is high, sporadic, and unreliable once you are on the trails. The Hells Canyon Natural Recreation Area in Oregon/Idaho. And there's Oregon, Utah, Wyoming. And it just goes over all the different trails. So I guess with these trail systems, the best way to get music is to download it offline. Exactly, when you're riding in deep, remote backcountry where cell towers are non existent, local storage is your only guarantee for uninterrupted audio, since streaming will cut out the moment you lose signal. Downloading is definitely the way to go. Here's how to optimize your audio setup for off grid riding. use offline mode in streaming apps. Yeah, most major streaming platforms have a built-in feature like this. How it works: while you are still connected to Wi-Fi at home, download your entire playlist or favorite albums directly to your phone. The switch: most apps, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, have an offline mode. Setting turning this on before leaving the trailhead. It forces the app to only look at the file store on your device, preventing it from constantly searching for a signal and draining your battery. And then there's Bluetooth stability. Most modern side-by-side dashboard, like the Polaris Ride Command or aftermarket hand units, allow you to pair your phone via Bluetooth. Once connected, your phone acts as a hard drive for music and, of course, a hardware backup, like a USB flash drive with MP3s and FLAC in the glove box, rugged speakers. So I'm basically going to be using an offline playlist or have a satellite radio installed, which I think we talked about, where satellite radio is also your best friend. You get a vast majority of music from hundreds and hundreds of stations ready to go. I wonder if the SiriusXM app has an offline mode to download stations offline. Does the SiriusXM app have an offline mode? Oh, the SiriusXM app does not have a general offline mode for live radio or music channels. However, it does offer a My Downloads feature for specific content, allowing you to listen to it without an active internet connection. Oh, it's just mainly podcasts and music content. I guess E's on 8 for the Half Hill McCoy Trails for a future trip. Oh, since A's on 8 is a music channel, it cannot be downloaded for offline listening. Wow. So I guess if I want 80s music, I can just download the playlist directly by going to my 80s hits and downloading that offline and having that as a offline, or download my hip hop or a country playlist or whatever, build a specific podcast or a different playlist and just name it after the trail ride, Half of McCoy Trails, and then, of course, the month and the year. Let's say we go for Christmas. If we go for Christmas, just down. Oh, I guess we'll just download a Christmas playlist and put it into. I guess we can combine all my multi Christmas stuff mixed in with a Christmas trail ride playlist and put it all together for Hatfield and McCoy Trails Christmas of whatever year. So finding the perfect soundtrack is also depending on the time of year, especially if it's a holiday. Like if you go trail riding for, let's say, 4th of July, you can play you put some patriotic stuff in there, mixed in with a lot of hip hop, country, rock, hip hop, and just have a mixture of music loaded into your music streaming service. And it definitely works. Just put it all into one big playlist, download it offline. If you know that the internet connection is going to be spotty or you may lose cell service right as soon as you get on the trail, usually where I am, I usually don't lose cell service at all. It's weak, but eventually it will load up and play on the trails of Carolina Adventure World and Riverneck. They both have really good cell service. The only place I've had sucky internet is in the cabins. So having that music, it's all about curation, or however you like to say it, creating a playlist for offline use, or building a playlist for offline use. That's what it's all about. So having that music, once you download offline, it's ready to go. You just got to do your research. So here are the top ways of connecting your phone to your side by side. If you have an iPhone, go with USB. If you have an Android phone, Bluetooth is your best friend. And also, there's the top two. I mean, there's YouTube Music, there's Apple Music, there's Amazon Music, there's Tidal, there's Deezer. There's a whole bunch of music streaming services where you can actually play your own music and have your own playlist. And of course, Pandora. That's another thing. Pandora, you can create a station and download it offline. If you don't have any service, you still have a wide variety of music on Pandora. That's if you want a wide variety of music and still access your favorite stations on Pandora. And that's probably what we'll do is just use Apple Music or Spotify or Amazon Music or Tidal or Deezer. There's other apps out there. You just got to find the right one that works best for you, and then build your playlist, download them offline, and you're ready to hit the trails. And finding the right music is also a pain because there's a lot of good music out there. You just gotta look at your own personal music taste and build it accordingly. You don't have to play rock or country or hip hop or hip hop. You don't have to play any of that stuff when you're on the trail because some people may not like that stuff. And if I want to, I got my 80s Gold album. I just download that one album and I'm good for 9 hours. Which I think is really cool. Or, I mean, I can, download my favorite albums. Trailing hits. I pretty much put my off-road. So this is perfect for 44 hours. I can just download that and play it offline. And I got pretty much, playing music for almost everyone in the side by side. And I can pick from any of my playlists, download offline, and I'm good to go. So finding the right music is even harder. You gotta look at what your favorite type of music is, put it into a playlist, and download it. Because not everyone's gonna have the same music taste. Same thing with hip hop. I mean, hip hop is one of those genres that has a love hate relationship. Like with artists like the Georgia Boys, Bottleneck, the Lax, people like that. Not everyone's gonna like. Trust me. I know because my mom hates hip hop, but me and my dad do. So all these hip hop artists, not everyone's gonna like. It's kind of like a love hate relationship, especially for a lot of the older folks who grew up on the old school country. They don't really like hip hop all that much. And you've got a whole bunch of music loaded up, ready to go. So we've got a mixture of different music. And when it comes to my own personal library, I'll just go by genre. Like I'll play some country, maybe mix it in with some rock, maybe some hip hop, maybe some. We'll mix some stuff in, especially if I'm just going for my CD collection. I can play whatever is downloaded for offline, and then play that, and it won't rely on the cell data. We were definitely living in a really good time, especially if you don't pay for SiriusXM, because SiriusXM you can pretty much easily install a satellite radio if you go off roading a lot and you're always losing data and you're tired of listening to the same stuff over and over again. Then yeah, satellite radio. We'll talk more about satellite radio. But I guess it kind of goes with this kind of episode for the Off Road Campground podcast. Is if you are tired of listening to the same music on Spotify, Apple Music, you always have SiriusXM. It's all offline. Especially if you get the Rode BT, the SiriusXM Rode BT. You can install the radio, find somewhere to put the radio, maybe drill into the dash, and then connect the audio to Bluetooth. All you need is the power and the antenna. That's two cables right there, and the audio is connected via Bluetooth. And then you can actually use the Bluetooth audio built into your side by side and have hundreds and hundreds of channels commercial free, which is great. So SiriusXM is really good for those times when you're going off the road. And there's also AM and FM radio, but even that, the reception can be awful at times. No matter where you are in the world, you can have the same stations with SiriusXM. So if you don't want to use your phone, you can install a SiriusXM radio. I think they even make a tuner, a SiriusXM tuner for a side by side. But I guess the easiest thing is to do a plug and play receiver, even those are becoming obsolete. I think there's some side by side models that allow you to have factory installed SiriusXM right from the dash. What side by side models have factory installed SiriusXM radio? Yeah, most side by side UTV manufacturers do not offer SiriusXM radio as a factory install feature, unlike passenger cars where satellite radio is common. UTVs are typically built for off road durability, and audio systems often modular or left for aftermarket customization. However, you can achieve this functionality easily by choosing a UTV that supports an aftermarket stereo head unit or by using a dedicated UTV specific satellite radio kit, like the SiriusXM aftermarket radio kit that goes, as you can see there, it has a module, an antenna, a place to plug in to the radio. It's got pretty much everything you would possibly need. Yeah, it's got the entire module, and of course, the SiriusXM UTV installation, something like that, where it's kind of like an aftermarket plug and play radio, but it's built mainly around durability and having. I do kind of like this particular UTV installation kit. It kind of goes anywhere on the UTV, and it's built mainly around having SiriusXM in a side by side, and it's got it's got almost everything. So I guess that's why they make this one. Oh, it's the Commander Touch. The Commander Touch has been praised by a lot of, I guess, heavy side by side, Sirius XM users who want a more durable, and it's a lot smaller than a lot of plug and play receivers. You get hundreds and hundreds of stations right there through satellite. Even if you're trailing up in the mountains, like in West Virginia, because I know the Half McCoy trails are hugely popular. From what I can tell, there's a whole bunch. So satellite radio is really hard to install. I mean, the easiest way to listen to music is by using your phone and downloading your playlists for offline use. You can always refresh your library with multiple playlists for your off-road and different genres, different decades, different times a year. Like if you listen to Christmas music, let's say you're on a Christmas trail ride, then yeah, Christmas music, you can download that playlist for offline, and then all your music's right there. Same thing with Halloween. If they have, because I know they do Halloween night rides, you can put on some spooky Halloween music on your side by side, and you're easily, in the moment for Halloween. For 4th of July, it's the same thing. You put on some patriotic music and have an essential 4th of July night ride, playlist. Because I know with SiriusXM, it gets kind of repetitive at times if you listen to it over and over and over again. You'll hear some of the same songs over and over and over again on repeat because they have a repeat rotation. And also, let's see if there's a way to download a radio station from Apple Music for offline use, or use my phone so we can see if there's a way to download it. So it hits by decade. I can tap on the dots. Yeah, I can either share or play the station. But I guess if I want, let's say 80s, and I can go to a playlist. There are 80s hits essentials, and this playlist is 7 hours 22 minutes. Because most of the time, a lot of trail rides are probably shorter than 7 hours. Or if you want 80s country, you can go to 80s country. 80s country essentials you can actually add that and download it offline. Yeah, there's add, favorite, and share. So you can actually add any of these playlists to your Apple Music or Spotify and download it offline. And you got an entire catalog of your favorite music. It's professionally created from from people who know music, and you can download it. Download it offline, and you got your favorite music without having to be repetitive. Like for summer, you can actually look up summer playlists from decades, your favorite decades. Download those for offline use, and for offline listening, because we are paying for a subscription. It's very easy. You don't even have to install anything in terms of hardware, because the hardware is your phone. You can either play it through USB or through Bluetooth, which is built in, by the factory. But I guess they're thinking, let's let the riders or the drivers use the devices they already carry around with them, their smartphone, and put it into the ride command or in the Can-Am infotainment screen or Kawasaki or CF Moto, especially with Apple CarPlay and, of course, Android Auto. It's all built in. They're trying to make trail riding as entertaining as possible for the end user. Maybe it's one of the reasons why SiriusXM doesn't get installed by the factory. It's mainly built for offline, even though satellite radio is offline. Reasons why side-by-side manufacturers don't install SiriusXM from the factory. Yeah, number one, shift towards smartphone connectivity, high cost and low attachment rates, harsh environmental factors, changing market trends, aftermarket flexibility. Ooh, let's kind of look at this. Okay, so they generally don't install satellite radio at the factory due to a combination of market demand, costs, and technical challenges specific to off-road vehicles. I mean, SiriusXM is a subscription model. Here are the primary reasons why the feature is rarely included. It's a shift towards smartphone connectivity. Yeah, the most significant factor is the ubiquity of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and Bluetooth streaming. Manufacturers have found the vast majority of consumers now prefer to use their own devices for audio. By supporting phone integration, manufacturers can offer an infotainment experience that is consistently updated via the user's phone apps rather than investing in proprietary hardware that quickly becomes obsolete. So you can still use SiriusXM, but it has to be streamed from the SiriusXM app. High costs and low attachment rates. Installing factory integrated satellite radio requires specialized hardware, a satellite specific tuner and antenna system, regulatory and licensing costs. Partnerships between manufacturers and SiriusXM often involve licensing fees or complex agreements. Low low take rate. Market research often indicate the small market research often indicates that only a small fraction of off-road vehicle buyers would actually here we go. Lower, okay. Market research often indicates that only a small fraction of off-road vehicle buyers would actually activate and maintain a monthly subscription. The cost per unit for manufacturers to include this hardware across the entire product line is difficult to justify when many owners would never use it. I would, being a millennial, I grew up with satellite radio since the age of 11, 12. Harsh environmental factors. Oh, yeah. Side by sides are designed for extreme conditions: mud, water, vibration, and dust. Antenna limitation. Silent radio requires a clear line of sight to the sky. The compact open cabin design of many side by side models make it difficult to mount a satellite antenna that is both authenticity and integrated and protected from trail debris, tree branches, or rock rollovers. Durability concerns. Adding a complex electronic component increases the potential of hardware failure. Manufacturers prefer to keep the dashboard electronics as simple as robust as possible to ensure reliability in harsh environments. Changing market trends. The automotive industry as a whole is moving away from factory installed satellite tuners as streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, etc., offer offline mode features that traditional benefit from of satellite radio. Access to content in remote areas without cell service is being challenged by users who simply pre-download playlists to their phones before heading out on the trail. Aftermarket flexibility, yeah, because there is no standard audio configuration for every side-by-side buyer. Manufacturers often prefer to leave the audio system ready rather than equipped. Many off-road vehicles come with a simple head unit or an open DIN slot, allowing the owner to install a custom high-end or marine-grade sound system that fits their specific needs, including the ability to add a SiriusXM tuner as an aftermarket accessory if they truly desire it. Wow. I didn't even know that. So I guess the easiest way to get SiriusXM is to use SiriusXM Internet Radio, especially if you have it in your car. If you're paid for satellite radio in your actual car, you can move it over to the SiriusXM mobile app and play it either through USB or Bluetooth. And it all works perfectly, and having your phone access with the SiriusXM mobile app, and you got stations, but you can only listen to it online. For offline, that's where Apple Music and Spotify come in. Makes it a lot easier. So SiriusXM, I guess they're moving over to internet radio, just focusing on internet radio. I wonder if that's true. Is it true that SiriusXM in the future is mainly going to be focusing on their internet radio service rather than their satellite radio service? So I'm seeing a lot of their since I'm seeing a lot of exclusive channels that aren't on satellite radio. Because I feel like they're pushing towards internet radio. It isn't accurate to say that SiriusXM is abandoning their satellite service to focus on mainly on their internet radio. Instead, Comply follows a hybrid strategy where both platforms survive different purposes. Because right now they have the 360L built into a lot of their Android based car infotainment screens. Yeah, while you are correct. There are many exclusive channels available. Oh, here we go. It isn't accurate to say that SiriusXM is abandoning their satellite service to focus mainly on internet radio. Instead, the company follows a hybrid strategy. So they're pretty much doing a mixture of both, where both platforms serve different purposes. While you are correct, there are many exclusive channels available only through the app, online streaming. This is largely a technical necessity rather than a sign that satellite radio is being phased out. Here's a breakdown of why the shift feels like a move towards internet only and what is actually happening. Yeah, technical capacity constraints. Satellite radio satellite radio operates on a fixed amount of broadcast spectrum. There is a physical limit of how many channels can be squeezed into the bandwidth while maintaining a reliable, high quality signal for millions of vehicles simultaneously, even with side by sides. The streaming advantage: internet streaming is not limited by broadcast spectrum. SiriusXM can add as many online only channels, extended playlists, or niche chart shows as they want without needing to upgrade their satellite or vehicle hardware. Expansion: the extra channels you see are effectively on a way for the extra channels you see are effectively a way for the company to expand their library beyond the physical limits of the satellite constellation. SiriusXM views both delivery methods as essential pillars of their business. Especially with Apple CarPlay, you get the SiriusXM app in Apple CarPlay, which allows you to listen to satellite radio or internet radio from Sirius without leaving Apple CarPlay. Genius. The hybrid business model. SiriusXM views both delivery methods and essential pillars of their business. Satellite, the car experience. This remains the core competitive advantage for many that set it and forget it nature of satellite, which works in remote areas without service and doesn't require a smartphone or data plan, is exactly why they pay for this subscription. Streaming, the everywhere experience. The app is designed to capture the audience that wants to listen at home, at work, or on mobile devices. It allows it allows for features that satellite cannot easily provide, such as on-demand content, program replays, and start from the beginning functionality. Why it feels like an internet-first shift. You may notice more emphasis on streaming because user trends as vehicles become more connected with CarPlay and Android Auto and built-in 5G. The barrier between satellite and streaming is blurring. Modern cars, many modern cars use 360L technology. Now pull content from both satellite and the internet seamlessly in the same interface. Exclusive content because it is cheaper and easier to launch an internet-only channel. New content often debuts there first and is testing ground for audience interest. Satellite, SiriusXM is not abandoning satellite. They are complementing it. Most of their revenue and vast majority of their legacy subscriber base is still tied to the in-car satellite experience. The internet-only channels are essentially a way to offer more value and variety without being held back by the hardware constraints by the satellite orbiting the Earth. If you enjoy the convenience of your car's radio, but also want the extra content, you may look into whether your vehicle supports SiriusXM with 360L, which essentially blends the two services together for a more unified experience. A mixture in my mom's 2014 Ford Fusion, 2024 Colorado Trail Boss, and my iPhone 15 Pro Max on Bluetooth speakers, and my Polaris RZR with Ride Command. SE. And it's going to connect. and it goes through and it just goes through everything. This sounds like a huge follow up to finding the perfect soundtrack, and SiriusXM has perfect music from pop, rock, hip hop, Christian, talk. But let's see. To get SiriusXM working seamlessly across that specific variety of vehicles and devices, you are going to be relying heavily on your iPhone 15 Pro Max as the hub for most of them. Here's the best strategy for your current setup. Most modern vehicles, the 2024 Chevy Colorado Tri-Boss. The 2024 Colorado features an updated infotainment system, likely supporting Apple CarPlay. Best approach: use the SiriusXM app on your phone, connect via wireless CarPlay. Why? Since your truck is modern, the app integration will mirror the SiriusXM interface perfectly on your dash. This also gives you access to those internet exclusive channels that the satellite tuner may not be missing. The legacy vehicle, 2014 Ford Fusion SE. The 2014 model predates modern smartphone projection. You have two options: built-in satellite if the car has it, which it does. It actually has a factory SiriusXM tuner. It will be the easiest hands-free method. App integration, if you prefer the app's channel variety, use an auxiliary cable or Bluetooth aux. But I rather use USB. It actually integrates the text using the USB. The off-road setup, Polaris RZR. Integrating audio into the RZR can be tricky due to the environment. Yeah, Ride Command integration, Polaris Ride Command is designed to pair via Bluetooth. Once the iPhone is paired, I can stream SiriusXM directly through the Ride Command. As I mentioned, the previous discussions, because I am often in areas with popular cell service, I cannot rely on the app for live streaming on the trail. The pro workaround: ensure your SiriusXM subscription allows for offline listening and downloading. If I use the app or rely on the RZR's ability to play local files like a thumb drive. Portable setup, Bluetooth speaker. And it goes through everything. I'm already using the Platinum subscription. That's perfect. Having the Platinum subscription is the only way to make the mix of vehicle work smoothly, because it gives you the login credentials for the app while keeping the satellite radio access for when you're out of cell range. And it just goes through everything about having the Platinum subscription. But with that said, I guess instead of having all this confusion, the best thing to do is use Spotify or Apple Music and download a playlist offline, because you can still save space having one or two playlists for offline, because we're no more than an hour or two on the trail. Even though the Havre-McCoy trails specifically are huge, it'll take days to get from one trail system to another through Virginia and West Virginia. So the best thing to do is use Apple Music or Spotify. Spotify, if you have an Android phone or maybe even an iPhone and you don't feel like using the Apple Music app, but Apple Music is the best for iPhone users. Especially if you still have a CD collection, rip them to the computer, put them into Apple Music, and you're on your way of listening to every CD you own in Apple Music and have it offline, and download a random album and you're good to go. But with that said, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.